Baltimore fans have been living on a roller coaster lately, and everything seems to circle back to one storyline: Lamar Jackson trying to drag this team forward, while battling something new on his body every single week. For the first time in a while, he finally peeled the curtain back and explained what has really been happening. He said that toe issue everyone kept speculating about actually started in the first quarter against the New York Jets, long before anyone realized something was wrong. And when you look at the bigger picture, it makes sense. Every game has turned into a new chapter of Lamar taking a hit, bouncing up slower than usual, and everyone watching at home whispering the same thing under their breath: please get up. It is not just one injury, it is layers. First the hamstring that cost him a full month, then the knee, then the ankle, now the toe. It feels like every time the injury report drops, his name shows up with something different attached to it. And when your entire offense depends on a player who usually moves like a blur, any small hitch in his stride becomes painfully obvious. You watch him drop back and you can see the wheels turning, the hesitation. Those moments that used to be automatic, where he would explode through a lane or escape a collapsing pocket with ease. Instead, he is planting, thinking, deciding, and getting caught by defenders who normally would not even have a chance to touch him. That shift has changed the entire rhythm of the offense. A quarterback built on being able to threaten teams with his legs suddenly looks like he is running with weights strapped to his ankles. And when that happens, even his passing takes a hit. The deep shots lose their timing. The crossers do not develop fast enough because protection is collapsing, and the accuracy that used to look effortless starts to drift. It is not that Lamar forgot how to throw. It is that his lower body has taken so many shots that every throw becomes a negotiation with discomfort. And the irony is that none of this is surprising. Mobile quarterbacks throughout history have hit stretches like this, where the body simply cannot absorb the same punishment. The problem is that the Ravens are facing it in the middle of an AFC race that refuses to slow down. With teams in the division taking turns beating each other down, Baltimore cannot afford a dip from its most important player, especially now, heading into a brutal 3-game swing against Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati again. These weeks are where seasons are shaped, and Baltimore knows better than anyone that the AFC North does not hand out favors. Part of the tension around Lamar's situation comes from how much pressure the offensive line has added to the equation. When your quarterback is already battling lower body issues, the last thing he needs is to be running for his life. Yet that is exactly what keeps happening. The interior protection has been shaky, and every single misstep up front puts even more mileage on Lamar's legs. Plays that should take a few seconds to develop are getting blown up instantly. Receivers are halfway through their routes and Lamar is already being dragged to the ground. It is hard to build rhythm when the pocket evaporates before the play even breathes. You could feel that frustration on snaps where the Ravens clearly had something cooking. Crossers opening up, secondary bites creating space. And then boom, someone up front loses a block instantly and the whole play collapses. That wears on a quarterback. It changes the way he scans the field. It forces him into quick triggers instead of trusting the design progression. And for an offense that thrives on timing and spacing, even the smallest hesitation turns into a drive killer. The coaching staff has floated the idea of a possible rotation on the line, but rotations are strange territory for an offensive front. Chemistry matters up there. Footwork has to be synchronized. Hand placement needs to feel automatic. You cannot blend guys in and out like wide receivers or edge rushers. Yet Baltimore might feel forced into that experiment, simply because the current setup has been so inconsistent. It is not an ideal solution, but at this point, nothing feels ideal. Meanwhile, Lamar keeps taking rest days, and those off days carry a different weight when you are a quarterback. Receivers and linemen can skip a practice here and there without messing up the entire operation. A quarterback missing timing reps is a different situation. Throwing windows shrink without practice. Routes need to be hit in stride. Communication shifts every week depending on the opponent. So, when Lamar sits for maintenance, it helps his body, but it also puts strain on the timing with his weapons. That tug of war is tough to balance, especially during a short week leading into a Thanksgiving matchup. Still, despite all the frustration, you can see the flashes that remind everyone of who Lamar is at full strength. You can sense that the instincts are still there, just waiting for his legs to cooperate. And that is why so many people are split between concern and optimism. They know what he looks like when he is right, They also know that if the Ravens want any shot at making noise deep in the postseason, they cannot rely solely on the defense to bail them out. At some point, the offense has to look like itself again. And even though Lamar continues to say the injuries are not an excuse, the impact is undeniable. You cannot expect a quarterback to take hit after hit, week after week, without the ripple effects showing up on the field. It is affecting his burst, his escapability, and the explosiveness that usually forces defenses to panic instead of playing on his toes. He is playing in survival mode, and that changes everything for a player who relies so much on fluidity. Baltimore fans can see it, defenders can see it, opposing coaches can see it, and as the season pushes deeper into its most physical stretch, the question becomes whether Lamar's body can settle long enough for him to regain that spark. That terrifies every defensive coordinator in the league whenever the ball is snapped. What makes all of this even more complicated is the timing. Baltimore is climbing through the toughest portion of its schedule, with divisional games stacked back-to-back and every snap carrying twice the weight. The AFC North is never gentle, never forgiving, and absolutely never patient. You walk into these matchups already bruised, and by the end of the first quarter you feel like you have been in a fist fight. That is the environment Lamar is trying to power through. And anyone watching closely can see that he is fighting not just opposing defenses, but also his own body. And while Lamar keeps pushing through these aches, the rest of the league is sitting up and taking notes. Analysts everywhere have started breaking down his numbers from earlier in the year compared to the last few weeks. And the contrast is hard to ignore. Early in the season, he was firing darts all over the field, looking sharp, efficient, relaxed, almost surgical at times. Those were the games where he looked like he could win the conference by himself if he needed to. But lately, the drops in completion percentage, the dip in total yards, the sudden bump in turnovers, all of it reflects a player trying to operate with limitations he is not used to having. When someone who normally throws with ease suddenly has to muscle the ball, or when someone who usually escapes pressure suddenly looks like he is stuck in quicksand, everyone notices. Some experts have gone as far as saying this version of the Baltimore offense cannot win deep into January if things do not turn around, not because the talent is not there, but because every contender eventually reaches a point in the postseason where your weaknesses get exposed, not covered up, in the regular season. You can survive a bad day from one phase of the team if another elevates its play. But January football is different. It finds the area you struggle with, presses on it, and keeps pushing until you break. Right now, the weak point is the offensive identity. And nothing impacts that identity more than the health of the quarterback and the stability of the line protecting him. Baltimore knows this. The coaches know this. The players definitely know this. You can feel it in the post-game interviews where everyone keeps repeating the same underlying message. We need to be better up front. We need to protect the quarterback. We need to execute cleaner. Those are not empty phrases. They are warnings, but for every concern, there is also this quiet confidence that keeps surfacing. The defense has become the great stabilizer, stepping in every time the offense hits a wall. They have been suffocating opponents, giving the offense field position, buying Lamar time to settle in instead of forcing him into a shootout. And on special teams, the kicking and punting units have been reliable when it matters most, flipping fields, adding points, and steadying games that could have spiraled. That type of support does not show up on highlight reels, but it absolutely saves seasons. Still, no one on the roster wants to lean on the defense forever. Everyone knows how this team is built. It starts with Lamar. It always has. So while the defense continues playing at an elite level, the offense needs to rediscover that rhythm it had at the start of the season. Not a full reinvention, not a complete overhaul. Just a return to the basics that made them dangerous. Physical running, clean pockets, timely throws, simple execution that builds confidence. Part of that hinges on how the coaching staff manages Lamar's workload moving forward. The rest days are designed to keep him fresh, but they come with that trade-off of lost timing. And even for a veteran quarterback who knows the playbook front to back, there is no substitute for the real reps. Quarterbacks need the muscle memory of stepping into throws, the footwork patterns, the chemistry of knowing where a receiver will be before he even makes his break. When those pieces are disrupted, even the best players start to look human. But the Ravens do not have the luxury of pulling Lamar back and letting him heal for a few weeks. The schedule does not allow it, and the standings definitely do not allow it, so the staff is forced to balance caution with necessity. trying to give him enough time to recover without letting the offense stall even further. And to Lamar's credit, he is not using any of these injuries as an excuse. He is not pointing fingers. He keeps saying the same thing over and over. He is healthy enough to play, and the expectation is to play well. Sometimes that mentality is what keeps a team together. When your star quarterback refuses to hide behind excuses, everyone else is forced to look in the mirror and evaluate their own role in the problem. You can see the receivers trying to clean up the drops. You can see the running backs fighting for extra yards even when the blocking is not clean. You can see the offensive line trying to iron out the communication issues that keep showing up on stunts and blitz pickups. It is not perfect, but the effort is there. Where things get especially tense is when you look ahead at the matchups coming. The Bengals have a defensive front that loves to twist, overload, and pressure from unexpected angles. The Steelers bring their usual style of chaos, punching you in the mouth on every snap and daring you to respond. These are not games you finesse your way through. These are games where you need your quarterback upright, protected, and functioning at close to full capacity. And that is why the conversation around Lamar's health has reached such a fever pitch. Not because fans are panicking, but because they understand exactly what this team is capable of when he is playing free. They saw it in those early season games when he was dropping passes perfectly over defenders, extending plays with ease, and making defenses look silly with his decision-making. They saw the version of Lamar that can take this team all the way if things break right, and that glimpse makes this current stretch even more frustrating. There is also another layer to the story that is easy to overlook. Lamar is in his 8th season now. He is no longer the raw, wild, unpredictable athlete he was when he entered the league. He is a veteran, a leader, a player who understands the weight of the moment and what it takes to grind through a long season. So these injuries hitting all at once are not happening to a kid who can just bounce back in 24 hours. They are happening to someone with hundreds of hits already on his body. Someone who plays one of the most physically demanding styles in the league. That does not mean he is declining. It means he is fighting through the same reality every mobile quarterback eventually faces. The goal now is not to eliminate every injury. That is impossible. The goal is to manage them in a way that allows him to tap back into the parts of his game that separate him from everyone else, and the Ravens know exactly what is at stake. They know this team has the talent to make a deep run. They know the defense is championship caliber. They know they have weapons who can step up when needed, but everything, absolutely everything, still revolves around number 8, and until he looks like himself again, the entire fan base will keep holding its breath every time he plants his foot, every time he gets dragged down, every time he pops up slow. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens. And hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. Adri Hopkins may be packing more than just his trademark swagger this offseason, as whispers around team circles suggest the star wideout is preparing to trade his purple threads for a fresh start in a brand new city. The murmurs began quietly, almost like background noise. But over the last few days, they've grown into a persistent hum drifting through front offices, locker rooms, and digital corners of the league. Hopkins, the veteran who arrived in Baltimore with big expectations and even bigger highlight reel potential, is reportedly ready to say goodbye to the Ravens and their iconic shade of purple. Those close to the situation insist nothing is official, and yet the hints are hard to ignore. Social media breadcrumbs, sideline body language, and a few carefully worded comments have fanned the flames of speculation. Some league insiders claim Hopkins has already informed certain teammates that he's exploring options, while others suggest a quiet meeting between his representatives and an unnamed franchise has already taken place, even within the Ravens facility. There's a sense that something is shifting, subtle but unmistakable. What's fueling the possible departure? Depending on who you ask, it could be anything from scheme frustrations to a desire for a more central role in an offense built around him. There are whispers that Hopkins wants a city where his voice carries more weight, a place where he can truly be the focal point rather than simply another piece in a finely tuned machine. There's also talk, never confirmed, always intriguing, that a few teams hungry for a veteran playmaker have already made their interest known. Fans in Baltimore are split between disbelief and resignation. Hopkins' time in the city, though not without flashes of brilliance, always felt like a partnership searching for its final form. Now, with rumors swirling and uncertainty in the air. It seems that chapter may be closing sooner than expected. Where Hopkins goes next remains part of the mystery. Some speculate a return to a familiar offensive style. Others envision him as the missing piece for a contender looking to climb one step higher. For now, all anyone knows for sure is this: Adri Hopkins may be ready to leave the purple behind, Baltimore's skyline fading in the rearview, as he sets his sights on a new home and a new role. The league may not have to wait long for the next twist in this unfolding story. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.